Welcome.
All right, we're live. We of course couldn't.
We're still getting used to this whole live thing.
YouTube needs to have a better way of actually going live, because honestly, finding the button to click was an absolute nightmare. So,
welcome. If you are tuned in, thank you so much. And if you're not, if you're watching this after, hopefully you'll get some information.
So, all right.
Let's start with some questions. So we actually reached out first on Twitter, and so we kind of find out, we got club building questions. We got kind of general questions around working and being around GolfWRX. And first question was kind of, what is your day to day? What would be your day to day, Brian?
So my day to day is I typically get in the office pretty early. But no, I mean, my day, I don't do as much. I mean, I know it probably doesn't seem that way, but I don't do as much content creation as other people like yourself and Johnny and Ben and all the featured writers, and Michael, all those guys. So I typically do a lot of day-to-day stuff with sponsorship on the site. So I deal with a lot of the sponsors who bring us all the great giveaways and testing threads and all that. That's usually my day-to-day. Is just working with them and getting those things planned out and started and finalized and everything. So that's my every day, Monday through Friday, and then on the good day with you and other guys and do podcasts and little videos and all that. But that's just kind of the fun stuff for me, what I get to do. But yeah, my day to day is just dealing with all our great sponsors and making sure that you guys get a chance to win or see their products and get that info out to you guys.
Cool. And my day to day, so being in kind of more of the content creation role. We'll call it days brainstorming. It's fun because I get the opportunity to work with OEMs just in a different way. So I get to communicate with either fitters at OEMs or talking to builders or people in their engineering, or one of those inside baseball things is the fact that yes, we do get stuff pre-embargo and we can't talk about it. That's part of the whole. So there are some days where we're on conference calls or we're getting information from people to be able to share it. And that's important because we want to make sure that as soon as, let's say, for example, but if a company's going to release a driver or release a set of irons or something like that, they want to make sure that when it gets a tour, because we have Greg with his eagle-eyed camera lens out there, when it does go live, that we have information to share, because it's important for us and it's important to our readers and it's important to the companies that are bringing these products out. There's a reason they're coming out and they want us to know. So first of all, we're not trying to speculate and sharing some kind of weird information. Kind of one of the funny examples of that would be for how long did we debate if the blueprints were hollow?
Oh yeah,
right, and that's fine. That's we didn't really have a lot of information on it, and it kind of snuck into a couple of players' bags. Or when Tony Finau had the i500, but the little i500 was milled out because they didn't want you to know what brand it was. It was just some random iron. We didn't know. We didn't know either. So if we don't know, it's not. It's kind of really truly in a prototype stage. But there are some things when it does come out that we are in the background working as hard as we can to be able to share that information as quickly as possible. Now we know some other sources sometimes aren't release things that they're not supposed to necessarily, or someone gets a sneak peek or someone gets in trouble because they've released it early. But when it comes to the content creation, that's what we're doing. Yep. We're reaching out, we're talking to people. It means a lot of photography for me. I don't have quite the studio setup, so it takes some time to get things set up, take things down, working with product. It also means just in general doing some of the videos I do for club building. And part of that really comes down to, having stuff to work on, which is really true.
You tend to run out. It's kind of tough. I'm in the same boat.
I know it's not because I don't have stuff to experiment on, but it comes down to being able to relay information properly. And right now, because it's wintertime, I don't have access to a driving range, so I can't do a lot of fitting videos that I would normally do. So I know for this year, I'll stockpile some and then release them later on. But that's kind of my day to day.
Yeah.
Cool.
And
we got a lot of questions here.
Schnee, Chris, knew him from back TaylorMade experience. how long until the BST is freed.
Website issues, okay, yes.
So the website, yeah, we'll tackle it right now. The website, brand new update happened this week. No, it's totally different. It doesn't look the same. Some of the features are either not there yet or they're different, whatever. Everything like that. I mean, we've kind of planned this where, it's kind of like a 30-day type thing to get everything up and running. Our community is huge, and it's just no way to make it just perfect right out of the gate. Like it just can't happen. So yeah, I mean, a lot of the features, stuff like that, is every day stuff's being worked on, bugs being fixed, things being implemented. So if you can just be a little bit patient, like I said, like 30 days, things should be back to running super smooth again. And I mean, for me personally, I love the fact that you can upload pictures really easily. There's some good stuff there. So, just bear with us, be a little patient, and things are going to get, be really good. So like I said, give us like 30 days and you should see everything flowing really well.
We are working really hard on the back end. We does not include myself, but it means the team that we have here. Because as Brian alluded to, not only are we worried about going forward because we want to make sure that everything is easy to access, but there's so much fantastic archived information on our forums, going back to what's in the bag pictures from tournaments years ago, to conversations people had about the Titleist LFE driver, or any of those things where people want to, like, if you Google search it, we want to be able to be findable still, because people still access a lot of that information. If it means someone who's new to the website or someone who is just out there looking to kind of get information on older golf clubs or older equipment, that's why it's really important. So there is that slower process, because all of that archival information is what we're doing our best to hold on to as well. And we want to hold on to it because we think it's really important, because you guys as members and people who are tuning in who haven't been to the site before, you are what make it so awesome. And the stuff that you've contributed, we don't want it to just poof, right? We're not MySpace. We didn't lose 15 years worth of music. Not to pick on those guys. But that's the whole idea, is there's so much information there. We want to make sure that we keep it. And that's why, because of that, there's a slow upgrading process that's taking place.
And Chris, you're not going to have any disposable income. I've seen your bag. You spend all your money on golf clubs. So you're definitely not going to have any disposable income.
Now, let's see here. Here's an interesting one. Okay, so club building question. How do you keep club heads and shafts and grips aligned when assembling? I think this is more of a question of the club head to the shaft align. How do you do that?
I mean, in everything, in a great scenario, everything should fit tight enough and snug enough where you shouldn't have a lot of play in the club. Once you get it built, I mean, assuming that, you're either shimming something or the shaft's going to fit correctly into the hosel, whatever, you shouldn't really have a whole lot of play. If you do, you can maybe use some like glass shafting beads, something like that, to again make it, that club fit a little better. But you shouldn't have anything where you're really having a lot of movement, or else you're maybe using, wrong hosel, wrong shaft, size, something like that.
Colored ferrules help too, because they just create that snug fit.
A lot of the new adapters all use colored ferrules, so you could be seeing something like that. So it sounds more like you maybe are having an issue with not having the maybe exact correct part to build that. But when something's built correctly, for me, like, there's usually very little play, if any, and I can just set it against the wall. I have a kind of a section of my basement where there's a wall, and I just set them all there. But yeah, if there's something that's real loose like that, I've got a different issue.
Yeah, my trick for just because you hit all the points of like things to look for, like from troubleshooting. My biggest thing is when I'm actually lining up a golf club, if it means using an adapter, and the hosel setting that is on the back, which is typically what you're going to use because that's where it's going to read on your driver head. So I always, if I'm just going to have an adapter, I don't have the club head with me, I always just line the shaft up to that, and that'll typically be the logo down part, so I don't see it. And with irons, it's kind of the same thing. I'll hold the iron up if there's a big logo on it or there's a big label on the shaft. For me, if I'm just lining it up, I hold it either right down. First of all, I'll get it in there, make sure it's all fit, try and line it up so I don't see the logo. Then I'll flip it over, look down kind of like the barrel of a gun, make sure the club head's pointed straight down, and then just line the graphics up, flip it back up. If I don't see the logo, and I'm all set, and that's my trick.
Yep.
Cool. Oh, this is actually probably going for you. DIY single length.
Oh, DIY single length.
Is something you like recommend to?
No, not at all. Well, let's wait. DIY single length. If you're going to go buy a set of single length specific heads, no problem. Yeah. Now, if you're going to try to make your own, I don't recommend it, because one, the heads are destroyed. The short irons are destroyed because you're going to have to remove weight. and you're going to have to port it out, grind it off the back. You're going to have to remove a ton of weight from the short irons to get them to match up to 6, 7, 8, whatever iron you're going to base everything off of. So would I suggest going just do DIY like I kind of did with a set of PXGs? I really wouldn't. Again, depending on the heads, if they're cast, you're not moving a ton upright and flat. I mean, I think the most you move from 4 iron, if you're doing a 7 iron, is like 1.5 degrees. So it's not typically a too big of a deal. But it's just the fact that like the short irons, you're gonna have to remove a ton of weight, and on the long irons, you have to just fill them full of lead tape.
Yeah.
And they look terrible. The stuff's probably gonna fall off after a while. If you want to go down a DIY, the single length route, I would say really try to get your hands on an actual set of single length clubs and try them. The DIY one, I mean, it was fun to do, but unless you've got just a spare set of heads laying around that you don't care if you destroy the 7, 8, 9 and pitching wedge, and then the wedges, if you decide to have same wedges, if you don't mind destroying the set that you have laying around, hey, go for it. But like I said, I would look to get your hands on a set of actual single lengths and try them and see if you like them. So it's more work than you want to do.
Yeah, I think especially if you have a set that you're trying to make single length and you've already got them, just means cutting down irons and adding that weight, you're making those shafts very soft. They're not going to play anything like the shafts in the middle. They're not going to play anything like the shafts at the end. If you are either going to extend them, which I don't recommend because that involves a lot of extra length and weight underneath the handle and all kinds of things. So to Brian's point, if you're going to do it, try and find a set of heads either you don't care about, as Bryson has talked about before. Like when he first started experimenting, they ruined a set of old Nike blades or something like that because it's just a piece of metal, so there's no cavity. You can just grind away or add weight with some lead tape. So that's a little different way to do it. But in general, make sure you don't extend anything longer. You don't want to lose a lot of weight, and just find the right heads. And when you start with something that's going to work or designed to work, it's going to be a lot easier at the end.
Yeah. And you destroy a set of shafts. So like on mine, I use the Project X Catalyst 80s, and you can't pull them out and reuse them. Like the 4 iron shaft is the length of a 7 iron. So
this hurts my heart to hear that, Brian.
I talked to the guys. They're okay with it.
They're okay. They're all right.
But no, I mean, it really is. I mean, like heads and shafts, they're gone. I mean, you can't, a lot of shafts, I know you don't like using poles necessarily all the time, but if you plan on taking those shafts and using them something else, like you're not, they're gone. Yeah. They're toast. So, and then if you decide you don't like it, you've just basically destroyed a set of heads and shafts that, you may have liked in another combination.
Now, one of the other ones here is a putter question. See, a lot of these. So not only are we getting questions on YouTube, as you can see, we got some ones on Twitter that I just kind of threw up there to see who we would come in. One of the other questions that I got was slant neck versus double bend on a putter. Like, what's the difference? Well, if you visually understand the difference, then it's just there's going to be like having the slant. I'm just going to put the club in a different position. But what this really does, this is great actually. We have ways to demonstrate here. So here's a double bend, right? This is a Cleveland. This is a really cool one. It only has probably half a shaft worth of offset on it, so that's important. But all you're looking for from a stroke perspective is it face balance? Is it slightly toe open? Is it completely toe down? This is more straight back, straight through. This is kind of right in between. It's going to fit a lot of people. And this is more for people with a lot of arc in their stroke. And if you're buying a ping putter, for example, it'll actually have who it's more likely to fit properly. I just kind of learned this, well, here we go. Now you can see it. Depending on the offset or the alignment in the back, certain people who are different eye dominant as far as fitting goes are going to prefer something a little more. I know that I can't use a putter that has less than basically a full shaft of offset from a blade all the way to like a mallet putter. Anything less than that, I never line it up properly, personally. Like, do you have a preference with offset or like a certain shaft bend? Yeah, I mean, I'm not. I like a little, like I'm more of a either double bend or plumber's neck guy. Okay. To me, like the slant necks or anything that's basically almost straight in. To me, I have a hard time aligning. For whatever reason. Do you know what eye dominance you are?
I don't actually. I figured it out like end of last year, and I completely forgot because I pretty much used like the same like 4 putters. I just buy the new version of it. But I don't remember what eye dominant, but it's anything that like is straight in, like a Seymour style. Yeah. And I love the idea of how Seymour has that alignment, but when I have it lined up perfectly, to me it just looks shut.
Me too.
And I don't know why. It's just me.
Issue.
Because the idea is so simple and it works. I don't trust it. But yeah, I'm a double bender or plumber's neck, type guy.
I'm a plumber's neck or like a flow neck. But
yeah.
just as long as the flow neck's got at least, I can do half shaft offset. That's not a problem. But anything that's closer that creates onset with the putter, it looks closed because of my eye dominance. And that's where you might find, if you're looking between the two, that's going to be the big difference. So don't necessarily look for the hosel configuration. Look for that relative openness in the, just as you're holding the putter shaft, because that's going to give you more of a idea of what is going to fit your stroke, because it might fit your eye, but it's not going to fit your stroke, and vice versa.
Sure.
Let's see, is there a difference when building shafts with graphite versus steel? Nowadays, no. As long as the head weight's and they're prepped properly, there really isn't a huge difference. It used to be off the rack irons that were graphite would be like half an inch longer, because the stock shaft would be like 110 steel, and then you'd be like a 75 gram or 80 or 70 gram graphite shaft, and OEMs would just use the same heads. This was pre a lot of like more options in custom fitting. They would just throw an extra half inch on there. That's why you see a lot of older people or slower swing speeds who were using those stock graphite sets years ago. All they could do is hit these big draws because the club was too upright. Face was pointed more left at prior to and at impact. And yeah, would you say would you find any difference other than maybe swing weighting?
Yeah, I mean, swing weights are really the only thing. And it really depends too, because it depends on what you're pulling out of. Like if you had a set that was built for like a KBS 130, C-taper 130, and then you try to put a 95 gram, steel shaft in there, you're going to run into some issues with swing weight just because there's so much difference in weight. But if you're doing something similar, like if you go from like a lightweight steel to a heavier graphite, like 100 gram graphite, you're probably not going to notice much, maybe a small tip weight that you need, or maybe just a touch of lead tape on the back to get them correct. But yeah, nowadays graphite's so good that you really don't have a lot of issues with them. And
a lot of companies too with the graphite shafts are creating them with maybe some extra mass, so they have a lower balance point. So the club head, you can get those swing weights up because they know more people are using graphite, just because of the performance, because of the consistency, all these different aspects that people want in graphite that they would used to be able to get, or you can still get in steel, are transitioning over. So those balance points are changing on graphite shafts. It used to be they just kind of, not all the time, but generally they would design a shaft and sometimes it would just come out very light, and they would just, most of the time you'd have to deal with it.
Yeah. Johnny GolfWRX. Knudson, did you get your bats? I did. They were delivered all in one piece. They made it across the border.
Oh, yeah?
That's Johnny Wonder.
Oh, yeah. There we go. I didn't realize. Yeah. Hand delivered.
They did. They made it across the border. All fine. So I appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Let's see what we got here. Recommend a reasonably priced swing weight scale. This is a tough one because you can. A lot of times with the scale, it's not actually the issue with the equipment. It is where it's set up and ease of use. So like I've talked about, and I'm going to do a video on it. It's like I have a shadow graph now, which a lot of OEMs use. They're very precise. They're very quick. It's basically pre-digital swing weight scale. That's what it's a digital swing weight scale. That's analog. It's the Rolex of swing weight scales. And as far as like price point goes, this as long as the swing weight scale, I mean, is properly calibrated, and you can have a calibration club, but they're all very, like a scale that says you weigh 180 pounds is another scale is going to say you weigh 180 pounds. It's just, is it on a level surface? Did you have a big dinner? That kind of stuff. But for the swing weight scale, if it's like your line angles are adjusting or where it's set up, if it's not level, if it's not on a perfectly level surface, you're going to get awful readings all the time. So typically with price point, it's only going to affect how quickly you're going to be able to use it. It just means you're like moving that little dial to dial it in. The one I have, you just put it on, it gives you a reading just like a digital one. Some of them are a little quicker, but what you're paying for is the performance and ease of use. You're not necessarily paying for absolute accuracy. So there's a lot of them from Golf Mechanics, GolfWRX, not WRX.
WRK.
Yeah. They do a lot. They have a lot of club building supplies, and they're probably the best ones. But you can find an old like Kenneth Smith one out there because they're built like old tanks. You can find those. They're fantastic. Yeah. You can find an old one. Like if you find one that's 50 years old, it's still gonna work.
Yep.
Unless it's been like completely ruined. But it's pretty easy to tell if the person who's using it took care of it, if it's not covered in epoxy or whatever.
Yeah, no, like you said, the biggest thing is making sure whatever one you have, it's set up right. Like I actually found when I built my new bench, which I might have told the story before last time, but when I moved into my new house and built my new shop in the basement, my one table that I had it on was not level, and I didn't even think about it. I just threw it on there. That was it. And when I went in last year and got my iron fittings, they were like, my guy Adam was like, "You like these kind of heavy, huh?" I was like, no. They're like D2, D3. He's like, "These are D6." I was like, no, they're not. He's like, "Yeah, look." And I took them home, and my scale, when I looked at the level built into it, was way off.
Yeah.
And as soon as I like straightened it out, he was right, D6.
My old one was actually, it was the bubble that was off, like the little sticker. Because I'd had it for a long time. It moved around. So just the tape that had secured the little mini level on it didn't work. So anytime I set mine up, because I have a couple, the older one, which is still very functional, an old Golfsmith one, I use just a normal level. I set it on the base to level it out rather than using the bubble levels, because I mean, a half-inch bubble level is really not that accurate versus like a 12-inch proper level. Let's see. Generally, one. Oh, okay, so that's actually. Oh, that's cool. Somebody's giving feedback on the. There you go.
Somebody asked us on my Twitter.
Cool.
I finally got a question. One, Morgan Rubes, but asked us to do a cribs style episode of our shops. I think that could be warranted.
Hey, Morgan. We've met before. I've actually built quite a few clubs for Morgan.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I actually am in the process of adding a little bit to mine, so I will definitely do it. But I'm in the process of doing a little more upgrading to mine as we speak. So when that's done, which should be a few weeks, I will definitely do an episode of how it looks after.
We should like put them together, because I've had the same question asked before mine. Yeah. And I've done the videos, but every time I do it and I've got like the camera, by the time I got stuff under benches I'm trying to show off, I'm like doing this. It just looks like a really bad like golf clover field. Or Blair Witch or whatever. It doesn't end up that well. So I'm in the process of like actually like putting together, because my shop is pretty much set. I say that, and then I get a new tool like every month.
Yeah, I mean,
but I can do that for sure, and I'd like to do it because it's fun to show up setup. I've always referenced this before, but there's one of my first articles was like a how-to and how to organize a shop. It has been changed since then, but it's a really good reference point of like how to set things up for workflow, set up for volume. Although I don't work with a lot of volume anymore, yeah. But it's set up so you can check your length, you can cut, you can glue, you can grab a glue club, you can turn the ferrule down, you can turn around, use the other bench, and put a grip on. It's just for ease of use is a lot of how it's set up, but it's definitely something that I've worked on. And to the people that also keep asking, I am doing a stamping video. I did another one before. I have a club that I'm like ready to stamp. It's just the camera was really shaky, and I didn't want to put it out there.
Stamping's a hard video to do because
by yourself,
because there's no good way to hang. And if you try to set that camera anywhere on the same bench that you're in, it just moves. Like you have to have it almost on like some type of shock mount away from the tape. It's way harder than you think to do a good stamping video.
We need friends. If you're willing to help hang out in my shop for an hour and help me film a video, by all means. We don't actually live that close to each other.
No.
So, or else I would happily help Brian, or Brian would help me. I'm sure he would. So, what is the best way to compare new irons? Is it to compare loft to the clubs? And if so, what's the difference? Like, should I be comparing a 5-iron to a 6-iron based on loft? No. I just went through a fitting with, and this is it's a great example. I play right now blades. I've said it before, I probably shouldn't, but I do. And I hit some more game improvement irons. And the first thing, and I know this because I'm a fitter, but I don't, anytime I go into a fitting, I let the fitter explain things to me like I was just a less knowledgeable person, because I want to understand what their philosophy is. I don't want to be influencing them. Like, do you kind of do the same thing? I don't try to be too much of an influence.
No, I just go in and say, hand me whatever you want.
Exactly.
Don't even tell me what, I'll be able to figure it out, but don't tell me what it is. Just hand it to me and let's go.
And one of the things is the number on the sole of an iron and the loft, don't worry about them. Just reference the flight window and the distances and the gapping. That's all you need to really worry about, because as far as comparing a 5 to a 6-iron, every set's designed to do something different.
Yep.
Have it be a Ping I-500 versus an iBlade. Like, yes, the lofts are stronger, but they're designed for different players. Some people add loft at impact. Some people take a lot of loft off at impact. And all you're trying to do is fit that window. Just like the loft on a driver doesn't mean someone swings it fast and someone swings it slow. It's just a reference for fitting. So find your launch window, find your descent angle, find what gives you the best ball speed and the most forgiveness, and then don't worry about loft.
Yeah.
I know we get it a lot in the forums. People are like, oh, it's way stronger. I know we probably answer this question a lot, but yeah, I'm over the fact of comparing lofts. And that's from a fitter and as a golfer, I just want to know that it's going to go relatively to the same distance relative to other clubs in my bag, and that's it. I don't care.
Yeah. I mean, I look at it as typically clubs that have that big of a difference in loft. You know, if you're saying a set with a 47-degree pitching wedge and a set with a 44-degree pitching wedge, they're typically not built for the same player. So you're typically in your fitting, if it's a real fitting, you're probably not even going to compare those two irons.
Yeah.
You're going to go something down the same road, which will have similar lofts that will be, you know, pretty darn close to each other. I mean, the top end, they might be slightly off, or slightly different. But again, like you said, they're built for a specific player. And if you're that type of player that fits into this, you know, game improvement irons, well, you probably have no reason comparing a blade, you know, with that. So there's really no point. If the lofts are different, it doesn't matter. Again, I'm well beyond, like, lofts to me doesn't matter. If you want to make them stronger, whatever, like, I don't care. As long as they perform, it doesn't matter to me.
You can have a player who, and I've talked to fitters a lot about a lot of the irons now that are stronger lofted. They're trying to get players to actually get them bent weaker to add spin, because a lot of this with the multi-layer golf ball, and it's not like an old guy with the multi-layer. It's not well, but with like just a golf ball that's not designed to spin a lot because of the driver, but spin around the green. But you still need speed to create spin, and because of that, a lot of the stronger lofted irons, you'll see people only play up to, like, say, a 6-iron and go into hybrids. And we're talking just like your average everyday golfer, because they just can't create enough spin to create enough height to get that angle of descent, to hold greens and get that flight window. And everyone's flight window is going to be different based on your club head speed and your impact dynamics. And that's why I don't like to just say, oh, this is 6 irons and 5 iron, because the lofts are, like, similar. They're designed to do different things. The engineers who are designing these golf clubs are designing each set for a specific player or a player profile, a speed profile, a delivery profile. And what you're just going to do is you're going to let the fitter or go through the process of just finding that window for yourself.
Yep.
Oh, here we go. The screw is off center on the bottom of my driver for the. Oh.
So I think is when you look into the actual, like, the
it's
slot,
off center. Yeah,
it's off center, which depending on your setting, it's going to be. I remember when I got the chance to go out, and I got to go into Callaway and their Ely Callaway Performance Center. And in there, they had a big chart. It was right when Razor Fit Extreme came out, and they had a chart of where that screw would line up in every setting. So, and back then they had those tour adapters with the 2 rings. So they had, like, a chart of knowing when you looked at the bottom, the screw was, you know, over here as opposed to here. It was a different setting on the club head. So more than likely, it's when you put it in there, it probably is off center, just because the actual adapter moves as it rotates in the head.
Moves around the inside. So
yep.
That's why you're probably seeing that not centered right in the bottom of the bottom, like the bore. Yeah.
So no, definitely nothing to worry about.
Let's see here. I want to bend a few of my wedges to hit certain lofts. So from 52 to 53 and 58 to 59. Should I be worried about the bounce? Nah, it's okay.
That 1 degree?
You can, but especially most wedges off the rack, or just wedges in general, there's a lot more camber to the sole, which is roundness from the front to the back. So as you adjust it, unless you're looking at wedges that, like a K grind, for example, which has more of a flatter sole, there's a lot more sole exposed in one area. You're not going to – you can notice it. I'm not saying that you won't notice it. It usually takes a couple of degrees of bounce before a player is really going to start noticing a change. Where you will notice a change visually is going to be offset. As soon as you start bending wedges stronger, you're going to add offset. You can do it without, but it's going to take a lot of bending and a lot of time. And even depending on the hosels, it's not really that easy, and you're going to put a lot of marks on the hosels. Some tour guys get it done just because of they're trying to hit certain angles, but a lot of times if they break a wedge or it looks like crap because it's got a bunch of bend marks in it, doesn't matter, because in a month later they're doing a new one.
That's true.
But overall, I wouldn't worry too much about the bounce, but you will notice going, again, and weaker, you're going to decrease offset. You might even see what looks to be onset because of the rounded leading edge of the wedge. But 1 degree, now get out there, hit those distances that you want to hit, and don't worry too much about it.
No, unless you're playing Augusta, 1 degree is probably not going to make any difference.
Yes. I see you guys. Same question from Morgan. That's a good one.
That's right.
Now let's see here. Where do you buy your shaft adapter tips and other supplies?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it there. Like I typically use GolfWRX just because like they're in Ohio. I live in Michigan. It's like once they ship the order, it's like 2 days I get the stuff. So I typically just go through, and because usually when I'm ordering an adapter, I'm also ordering ferrules or tip weights or shims. I'm ordering a bunch of stuff. So typically I just do it all through there and order it. And like I said, usually for me being in Michigan, it's like 2 days it's at my door. So I usually get mine from there.
When it comes to adapters from OEMs, sometimes you can. I just I'll go to a big box store and order them, or they'll have them in stock. Just because a lot of like the really popular ones, like the Titleist, TaylorMade, Callaway, they'll have usually 3 or 4 of them in stock, so you can just go and buy them. But online, GolfWRX, WORKS. We have the same thing in Canada.
Yeah.
It's in Ottawa, so for me it's like 4 hours away, so a couple of days shipping. That's where I get almost all of my epoxy. I do get some 3M stuff. I'll order it online. I'll just order wherever the kind of the best prices, although it's all very typically higher price and roughly around the same cost for shipping and all that stuff, just depending on where it is. But overall, ferrules will come from there, or like a lot of the GolfWRX stuff is, some of it is Billy Bob's. I think so. I'm not like, I think some of it is.
Might be.
Just because like they don't necessarily produce a lot of stuff. They do have some, but they're using suppliers as well, just like Billy Bob's is the actual supplier for a lot of these components. As far as I'm aware, again, we're answering off the top of our heads here. But the other one for ferrules, I've mentioned like a lot, is Boyd Blade and Ferrule Co.
Oh, that makes
National
awesome.
Test. I'll say it every single time. I'll keep saying it until I'm proven different. But all their ferrules, especially for irons and wedges, I even built a hybrid recently with one of them, just because it's 370. Reamed it out. Watch a video on that. But those, if you're looking for something that's cool and got like some customization on it, you are going to pay more, but you're getting the best ferrules that I've ever used, and they look awesome. So that's where I get all of my supplies from.
Yeah, I love the like those ferrules, but I need to find a set of irons that I'm going to keep longer than a month to invest in those.
Yeah, I think by the time you're done, it's like $40 for a set, which is not bad because I'll use a set for a full year.
Oh yes, I won't. I'll rip through ferrules like they're nothing. Like I mean, I usually buy 24 or minimum 24 at a time, because I mean, one set of irons is 8 about, and I'm gonna reshaft a set of irons probably in its life in my life with it 3 times. So it's not
sorry,
straight just standard black ferrules from GolfWRX is what I use. They're cheap.
Hello, friends. Oh, hi.
Hello, friends. Is that
Jim Nance?
I'm about to say, yeah, is that Nance? Is he watching?
Is it better to bend wedges, I think, up or down? For lie angle, it doesn't matter at all.
No.
If the question is like up or down for loft, that comes into personal preference.
Yeah.
Again, just like what I used to do personally, I'd buy the wedges stronger and bend them weaker because I didn't want to see a lot of offset, and I actually prefer a little bit more bounce.
Yep.
But some players, if you're someone who likes an I2 wedge or something like that, or is used to looking with clubs with more offset, and a lot of tour players actually, from what I've seen, a lot of times they typically go more offset, and just because of when you open it up, it creates like a different transition from the leading edge, and it makes it look a little more open, or you don't have to feel like you have to open it so far to get the loft on it. It can reduce heel interaction with the ground if there's more offset. Think of the I2 wedge. When you open that up, or the high toe, or the Mickelson PM, all that stuff, when you open it up with high offset, you keep that heel off the ground so it doesn't dig. But it comes down to personal preference. I would always typically go to the stronger wedge, bend it weak, because I didn't want to see a lot of offset, and I wanted a little more bounce. That's me. But there's, as far as bending in one direction or the other, nothing's more difficult or easier. It's just more of the materials and making sure you have the right tools.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I typically I like higher bounce wedges, and there's way less of those out in the marketplace. So for me, I always will take something and bend it weak.
Yeah,
because I mean, an extra degree or two of bounce, I'll gladly take it. I mean, here in Michigan, everything's soft. I mean, I'm not playing off, Texas hard pan. So for me, more bounce is better.
And when we talk about bounce, and there's a lot of different ways to measure it. There's effective bounce. There's actual bounce. I saw this earlier, so I want to pull it out. If someone was out to ask about bounce, this is a GolfWRX Adele wedge. Adele?
I think it's Adele.
Adele?
Yeah, I believe so.
If you look at that, there is a ton. So if you were to measure that and just measure that angle, it's probably, I'm going to say, like 20 degrees of bounce. And
it's a lot.
David talks about that a lot. He's been on Johnny's podcast and stuff. And that's Gear Dive with Johnny Wonder. I want to give him a shout because if he's listening, I want to make sure we actually get. If you haven't tuned in before, so you can search it up. It's on GolfWRX Radio, along with all the rest of the podcast, including Two Guys Talking Golf
on spec.
But what they talk about is the relative angle on the sole. So if you're just measuring that leading edge bounce, some companies will do that, so it'll seem like it's really high, but it's not. If you're measuring from the leading edge to the trailing edge, and they're not necessarily taking into account that full angle there, you can measure it to say 6 degrees of bounce, but it depends on how it's measured. If this was a lot more rounded and it didn't have this sharper edge, it actually looks a lot like a Srixon iron. It's very angled, so you're going to measure typically there. But again, every company is going to measure slightly different, and then it comes down to the grind itself. Like a K grind, really wide, a lot of sole exposed. This doesn't have a ton of actual sole exposed here, so it's still quite versatile because of the grind along the back. But they make up for that because of the amount of bounce on it. I could talk about that all day. That's why we're here, right?
That's right. That's why people are tuned in.
Choosing grip size. That's so. One of the questions just got was about choosing. Let's go back to grip size in a second. What's this here?
In your opinion, what's the most important fit? Driver, irons, wedges, or putter? Ooh, that's tough.
Can I not pick one? Can you say everything in your bag?
I mean, if you have a gun to your head and have to say which one, I mean, man, that is really tough. I mean,
if I had to pick one, I would say if I had to pick one, it would be irons because you use them on so many shots.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going to. I think I would go with that as well. I mean, wedges for me is probably a close second because as an amateur, I mean, putter you use a ton, but I think, as us amateurs, especially, any type of handicap, you miss a lot of greens. And even from 150 yards, whatever, you miss a ton of greens. So getting up and down, it saves you a lot of strokes. So, I would say iron and then followed by the wedges.
I think that's the one. I think wedges is probably the most neglected
by far.
By like the average player.
It's the hardest one to get fit for. Because there's not a lot of places that have a grass range that are willing.
If you're talking about bounce and stuff like that, it's really difficult. I find the biggest issue is people play wedges that are too upright.
Yeah,
especially in like the lob and the sand wedge, the shots they're like the half swing shots. Most people are playing way too upright in their wedges. If you're looking to go more advanced, the putter fitting can be a huge advantage. A proper putter fitting should include getting on like a quintic system, just to look at, just like you would with TrackMan, you're going to get the exact same relative numbers through a putter fitting, like face closure rate, launch, spin, skid, all these really cool things that are super important when it comes to putter fitting. Instead of just going off and like, oh, it looks really good, which can work. It doesn't mean that it won't. Yeah. But it's more important too. I mean, you could say all of them, but like an iron, especially if you're doing the gapping, it's going to help because there's 8 clubs, right? You're fitting 8 clubs or 9, whatever. If you're using a gap wedge or a 3-iron or whatever, we're using all those golf clubs versus saying like just a putter. Although you're going to use it a lot when you're on the golf course, you know how far your irons are going to go. You're just, and then it's going to compound into your wedge aim and just all that stuff. So if you had to choose one, I would choose make sure you get fit for your irons. But really truly get fit for everything.
Yeah, I mean, for me, driver's the least because, I mean, one, for me, a driver and driver shaft combination is not going to make it more than, I mean, who knows? With me, it could be like 2 days. But I feel like driver's that one thing you can kind of adjust yourself to a little bit, where irons, like you said, there's more irons. You hit way more shots of them. I mean, heck, there's guys out there don't even carry a driver.
Yeah.
I mean, so on bad days when I'm not hitting driver well, like I go straight to 3-wood. I don't even worry about it.
I think, too, when it comes to like the most important club in your bag to get fit for, you have to think of it, and I've used this analogy a lot, and I'll just sound like a busted record, but your golf bag is a toolbox. So you've got a tool that goes the shortest, and that's your putter. You can eliminate that once you got it fit. Then you got your driver. It's the club that's going to go the furthest, so you can eliminate that. Now you have 12 golf clubs, 12 tools that are supposed to go between the longest and the shortest. Each thing should have its own purpose. You can only carry 14 under the rules. If you want to carry less and you hit all your distance gaps, even better because it's lighter to carry, it's lighter to push. Awesome. But you want every single club to have a certain – if it means having a hybrid and a fairway wood, they're the same loft, but they do different things. One will carry to, let's say, 200 yards, and one will get to 200 yards, but it rolls depending on your course conditions. Those could both be useful, one rolling into a par 5 and one going into an island green on a par 3.
Yep.
It just – It's finding those gaps, and that's why getting fit for every club is important. To go back, if I had to choose one, it'd be irons.
Yeah, I agree. I don't like to agree with you a lot, but I'll agree with that one.
Yeah, that's okay. Let's see here. I'm going through the Twitter.
Yeah. Nobody asked me anything on Twitter, so thanks, followers. Let me down. Just showing me up.
What is tipping a golf shaft? Oh, it's a great question. Simple, but it's a really good question.
Yeah.
People talk about tipping, or they ask about that question. What it means is before you install the club, you're actually removing length and cutting the bottom part of the golf shaft. What that does is it'll generally 99.9% of the times make it stiffer.
True. But it's not like if you cut off a half inch, it's not going to turn a stiff into an X.
No.
Like you're never going to make that transition from moving a whole flex up. It's a different profile. I mean,
yeah, you can help adjust feel a little bit as well. Like you can make it feel a little bit stiffer. You can adjust CPM a little bit, but the overall profile of the golf shaft's not going to change. It's really important if you're building a set of irons with parallel shafts.
Oh yeah.
If you're not using designated length taper tip iron shafts and you're using parallel, then there's a specific much larger amount to tip that shaft to get it to play to flex, rather than just putting every single shaft in, because that means the short clubs are going to play really soft and the long clubs are actually going to play pretty stiff. So it's about the fine tuning of the frequency slope, or at least the flex slope. I don't just want to reference frequency because you don't need a frequency machine to have clubs play relative to the same flex.
Yeah.
But if it means, let's say you put a shaft in your driver, and you've reshafted it, and you use it to reshaft a driver 5 times,
yeah,
and you don't feel like it's very strong at the tip anymore, Brian, because it's possibly compared to you, and you want to use it in a 3-wood.
Oh yeah.
Well, the shaft manufacturer recommends you tip it, say, an inch. Well, it's perfect. Now you don't have to worry necessarily about that bottom inch anymore.
Nope.
And it's designed to play a little bit stiffer into the heavier, shorter golf club, and they do that intentionally. As a lot of the shaft manufacturers, there's not a lot of fairway specific shafts out there anymore.
No, not anymore. There's Graphic Design has one.
Fubuki, Mitsubishi used to have a Fubuki F or G, something that was very close to 3-wood length, so it would fit just specifically for fairway woods.
That's about it, though. Yeah, I mean, there's really not. Yeah, like I said, there's not really many anymore. But even so, I mean, if you look at manufacturer recommended tipping nowadays, I mean, it's really there's almost no draw. I mean, every driver is just straight in. That's what they recommend. And then 3-woods now, I mean, it's like half inch.
Yeah.
I mean, there's really not. And some of them, it's even none.
It's because when you cut from the butt end, they get stiffer too.
Yeah.
So you're shortening the length of the tube. We're gonna really simplify it. As the tube gets shorter, the tube gets stiffer.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a stupid, simple way to explain it, but it's over the course of building a lot of golf clubs, it's an easy way to explain it.
Yep. So
what you got there?
Thoughts on Cobra F9 drivers? Seeing conflicting reviews, saying they're higher spinning and some saying they're lower spinning. Awesome content as well. Well, thank you for the compliment on awesome content. Appreciate that. F9 drivers, I really have. I mean, I haven't heard a whole lot on a bunch of negative reviews, really. But in terms of spin, a lot of that's going to depend on the player, because I mean, there's a lot of drivers out there that some people will say are lower spinning than others, and then you go hit them, and the one that was supposed to be low spin spins higher, and the one that was supposed to be high spin spins lower. So a lot of it's going to depend on how you bring the club into the ball. But in terms of if you're looking for low spin, pretty much everything out there right now is low spin. But the F9 is, I mean, it's great looking from address, sounds good, feels good. I don't have enough time with it yet to say outdoors. I don't have enough time yet to say it's like going in my bag or not. I'm definitely trying it. But no, I've heard way more good things about that driver than I have bad things.
The biggest thing with this or any driver when it comes to spin is face contact. And that's what I try to tell anybody when it comes where you hit it on the club face is going to be one of the biggest determining factors of spin. Anything above the center of gravity or above the sweet spot is going to spin a lot less. Typically, when you see people who are spinning drivers too much, it's because they're hitting it close to the bottom. Because every driver out there is very low, quite low spin. You're not going to find a lot that are intentionally higher spinning.
No.
I mean, probably I'm not trying to pick on anybody, but probably the higher spinning driver is going to be the let's say 400 SFT, because it's designed to help people turn it over. It's like a slice killer. So that driver, because of the center of gravity, it's going to spin low, but it's going to spin a bit more by design for those players who struggle with a right miss. But other than that, every driver, once it's optimized with the proper impact dynamics, you're not going to notice a huge difference. Yeah. It's really about finding the one that's going to work best with your impact dynamics.
And follow with, not really a question, but Atmos Tour spec shafts are a sick stock offering from the Cobra. Also, agree. I really like the. I play. What is it? I have Tour spec black in my hybrid, a 9, and right now in my current gamer, which is a 410 G410 Max, I've got a Atmos black in there as well.
Yeah.
So
have you used it all year, or did you use it last year?
Both of them. Well, the hybrid came in end of last year. The boys at Fuji put my etched our little GolfWRX logo and my name on it, cool. Which was pretty sweet. Thank you to those guys. And I played that for the last probably quarter of the year and really liked it. I mean, it was interesting because I went from playing a hazardous black to that, and the feel on it. I mean, it just felt a lot more lively. It wasn't as boardy, little smoother feel, and it actually had more of a straight ball flight, where the hazardous was straight to right. I didn't really hit it left, but the Atmos Black Tour spec is just dead straight for me. If anything, it may fade a little at the end, but I mean it's more of a straight ball flight than anything.
Never miss a
fairway. I miss your
demo day guy.
I miss tons of fairways. So
let's see your review on the TS2 and TS3. How would you rank them in the Bombers market? Well, Titleist has fully admitted in the past that it was all about kind of maximizing total performance. And with the TS series, they've basically eliminated any excess spin by totally redesigning their driver. They're back to basics, and this is not marketing speak. It sounds like it, but it's true. We've seen it. We've seen drivers pulled apart. We've seen the weight difference. There is no longest driver. I'm just going to put it out there. I'm going to put it out there right now. There is the longest driver for you.
That is true.
Right?
I hate to admit it, but you're right.
Now, what can you do? What can your driver do for you? But what can you do for your driver? That's the biggest thing, because some people who are, let's say, a more center contact or more heel contact or more toe contact, everyone's going to react slightly differently. It's because some models will, within a couple hundred RPM, spin more, spin less. I've seen players who hit up on it 6 degrees and hit these draws, and they need super low loft. They need drivers that actually add spin, because by the time they get they're hitting with drivers with spin loft that are under 10, and it's crazy. It's not very common. It's one guy I saw could actually get to 17.
Oh yeah,
he was ripping it. Yeah, it's pretty cool to see the guy on TrackMan. He's a pro near right. And like he's been out before. I've talked to the guys at the TaylorMade Fitting Center. It's like the one guy you can actually get to that because you can go super low off, and just hit straight up on it. And then you got a guy who like Finau, for example. His impact dynamics are actually down on it, but he's using a driver, or I guess he was using the Max, like the G400 Max, but now he's got the SF or Plus, the 410 Plus.
410 Plus, yeah.
And they might not need the super low loft because they already take a little bit of loft off it because of where they hit on the face. It's all impact dynamics. It has nothing to do with which one is better than the other. Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, we see it every year, like in the forums, which is, to me, the best place to see it because there's so many forum members out there that, you could always say like, oh, what's the longest driver, like you said, and everybody has a different answer because everybody is a little different. So some guys is going to be TS, some guys is going to be Cobra. It's all over the place. So
I don't know if Johnny's on here talking to people too. I guess it looks like he might be, but I know Johnny last time he was using the Cobra driver.
Yep. He's
been loving it. He's got the fairway wood as well. He's got a really cool series, Quest to Qualify with Arcos that we partnered with. He's partnered with doing a lot of the video content, which is a lot of fun. Last time I played with Johnny in Florida, he was hitting it really well. I had my driver, I was hitting it pretty good too, but he was way past me. Johnny's just to pass me anyways. It doesn't matter. It has nothing to do with the driver.
Johnny's sneaky long for being a tall, skinny guy.
Yeah, he is. He's really sneaky long. Yeah, crank down. Oh, look like they're having like a whole conversation. Look at this. We got like the whole conversation going. This is awesome.
Yeah,
this is great. This is the whole point. Is there anything like you would mention like from a day-to-day or like this season that you're excited to talk about or we're like looking forward to doing? Because you do a lot of the giveaway stuff and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of like new product that's going to be coming out. I know that most of the new product we've seen it, but there's still some stuff out there that is on its way. So we're gonna have some pretty cool, like in the forums and stuff, like some testing stuff, some giveaways that are gonna be some new product that nobody's seen yet. That's on its way out, which is really cool. I mean, it's always exciting to be able to give you guys a chance to get that product in your hands and talk about it and have more people try it. So I can't talk about any of it yet, but there's embargo dates and stuff. But there is some cool stuff coming that we'll see a little later in the spring. So not too far off, really. Probably, if I can remember correctly, probably just 2 months away, something like that. So we'll see some cool stuff coming out of the pipeline.
I think the biggest thing from like a technology standpoint for me would just be the continued emphasis on fitting. So that's all I can think of. I mean, there's a lot of cool grips right now that are coming out now because it is like regrip season. So I know we talk a lot about the clubs and shafts and all that stuff, but the grips are definitely one that like Align. There's the Align Tour Velvet, Align Plus 4, I think, as well. Or Align Plus 4 Tour Velvet, right?
No, there's a Tour Velvet Plus 4. Doesn't have a line.
Okay,
there's a Z grip Align.
That's it. Yeah. And
which I actually have on my irons right now. So I'm playing.
Look at you.
I actually really like them. The Z Cord and or the Z Cord as we all called it, I guess its real name is the Z Grip. We were kind of on a love-hate relationship. I kind of liked them. I thought, I don't know, but they were sometimes a little too rough. So I didn't necessarily, there was love-hate. And then last year I played the Tour Velvet Align for almost the whole year. Really liked them. I like the Align. For me, rib grips kind of turned the grip triangular. I didn't really like it. It almost gave it like a little bit of a pistol feel in a way.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't really like that on ribs. So I tried them years ago. I never played them. And then the Align stuff, I like that the grip's still round, but it has that little reminder there. But I tried out the Z Grip Align, and I really liked it. It's definitely firm. It's almost like a hair thinner than the old Z Grip. Yeah. I wouldn't necessarily build it up more, but you can kind of feel it's a touch thinner. But I really like the feel. The rubber seems more tacky than the Z Grip. So the Z Grip Align.
Yeah, I can feel firm, I think. That's always the big thing that I always heard. It's like we got someone regripping golf clubs as they wash this. That's pretty cool. Lampkin, and speaking of Lampkin's got, they do a lot of wrap stuff, right? Like wrap has kind of come back a bit. I think if you were to look at golf's demographic from just overall, it is getting slightly older right now. We're trying our best to get as many young people in.
Definitely.
Yeah. If I can include my daughter in the demographic, I mean, she can be a little bit of someone to skew right now. She's got a putter, that's it. But those grips are obviously very popular for a long period of time. Went more to like the velvet style, and we're starting to see them more. And Lampkin's got some of those coming back with their impact dampening, We've got a lot of different texture options, and it comes down to finding the right feel before worrying too much about size. Because size is still, I know I think Ping talked about it a lot, was face closure rate has less to do with grip size and actually more to do with like the weight, swing weight, and like total balance point.
Yeah.
So when it comes to grip size, focus on comfort and just find a texture you like. Because I prefer something that's a little firmer, like you say, and smaller. I have like short little fingers, all palm, no finger. So because of that, I use like just a standard grip with like 1 wrap of tape on it.
Yeah, I'm pretty much standard with I do 2 layers of double-sided.
Yeah.
And that's it. I don't use a layer buildup. I use just 2 double-sided, and that's my go-to. So I'm gonna say I don't have huge hands. I mean, mine are pretty standard, but that one little extra wrap kind of helps take a little bit of pressure off the club.
Yeah, it's funny because like most people think that like going bigger will be more comfortable. I was in a fitting a couple days ago, which I'm writing about, and actually got a blister because the grips were just like Tour Velvet 360s, which are slightly larger in the top hand. And just because of that, I don't normally wear a glove. Just got a little blister, and it was hit a lot of golf balls, but it's not more than I would normally hit at a range.
Yeah.
And it was surprising just because I haven't had a blister from hitting golf balls in a long time. And it's just because that grip was, although it's not a huge difference, made a big difference after like 45, 50 balls. So if you are going to go out and get some, get regrip, especially this time of year, if you're looking to like regrip a couple of clubs, definitely just make sure you're focused on comfort and focused on the texture that you want. Also, as someone who used to regrip a ton of golf clubs for other people, the one thing I can recommend is if you're not sure, grip 1 golf club.
Oh, yeah.
Just grip 1 golf club, take it to the range, and come back. We can do the rest of them, no problem.
Oh.
Don't pick a grip if you're not sure on it, and then you have to cut off 14 grips. Because I feel bad. I feel really bad. Grips are not cheap. They're not like throwaway, especially now. I mean, you can buy less expensive ones.
True.
What for testing, I do. I have some really crappy, like, won't name the brand, but I just buy them online and they're a couple bucks and I use it for testing. And if I like it, then I throw on like a grip that I normally use.
Yep.
But in general, like you don't want to waste money. Like we're not here to try and sell you on something. Like our biggest thing is if you're comfortable with your golf clubs, stick with them. But make sure that what you got is really comfortable. Especially this time of year, if you're just going to go to the range one day and you want to warm up, just regrip your 7 or 8 iron or whatever and just try it. Because if you like it and you fall in love, it takes a couple more days and you get the rest of your clubs done.
I had a whole, like, I wouldn't say I had a case, but I bought when those Black Widow full cords went down to like $1 a piece. I bought like, I think 50, 70 of them or something like that. I finally now there's like 4 left. And I would just, because I mean, I'd switch up drivers and stuff so much that I'd just throw them on a driver.
That was a really good cheap grip.
It kind of was. It doesn't hold up great, but it's a grip. And like, so I put them on drivers. I hit it, or a club that I'm trying to test, and then that's it. And if it doesn't work out, oh well, it was $1 grip.
Exactly. So, let's see. We got any more questions? We might be.
I've got one of where are good places to golf and have a mini vacation, maybe with your wife, somewhere warm and inexpensive, preferably. Asking for a friend. That was actually my wife. That's a good question. I don't know.
So this is, this is actually I can speak a little bit to this.
Yeah.
My wife's a golfer. She plays fairly regularly. She used to play a lot. And the one place that we really enjoyed together recently, although I know depending on location, it's not close to me either, would be a lot of times just look up, be a tourist in your own city. That's what I like to tell. I know a lot of people use that phrase, I mean, just in general, bloggers or whatever, but be a tourist in your own city. Because sometimes you might find like a cool place that's got this is terrible generalization. I don't mean to do this. Like has a spa or something that both people can do. If it means a show, if it means renting, going on a boat, whatever, it doesn't matter. If it's something that both people enjoy, that means an aquarium, it means a theme park. For example, like Orlando is a good spot if you're close by, just because you got theme parks, you got a lot of attraction, you got a lot of golf close. There's a lot of fun things to do. Mini golf is a lot of fun. What am I doing here? Who's this? Oh, is that? Yeah. And you can do these things. Like for me, my wife and I, we went to Cabot, Links, and Cliffs.
Okay.
And so we both played one day. I played another day, and she was able to just like hang out within the area. There's a lot of stuff to do. from like a tourist perspective. I know for me, we're in Michigan right now.
Yep.
I'm more towards the GTA, like Toronto area. The Niagara region is great. Great wineries. I used to work in that industry a little bit, beer and wine. So there's a lot of great places to visit that you can go play golf. You can go. There's actually one golf course nearby. Now this is very geographical and this is worldwide. Well, maybe we're overthrowing our reach a little bit. Yeah. But like there's places where you can do 9 holes and a wine tasting. How cool is that? Because the golf course on like near its property has a winery that they own. So regardless of where it is, obviously like Florida, like California, like anywhere there's a lot of golf, there's probably a lot of other like destination things that you can do together. So that'd be a good spot. Did I just throw you under the bus?
No, not at all.
Because I know, like again, I'm planning a family trip in the near future, and my biggest thing was I'm getting away for a day to play golf.
Yeah. But
there's lots of things to do for both people outside of just that, and I think it's important for balance.
I mean, I don't. Does this look like the spa type guy?
Hey,
I'm not much of a spa guy, but no, I like the suggestions. Somebody said Myrtle Beach is very reasonable.
Get a pedicure.
I don't think you want to see my feet.
Well, I don't. I don't.
No. Somebody said Myrtle Beach is pretty reasonable. Yeah, it's a little trek, but
I think this time of year too, like fringe season is a good time to go to like certain places, right? Like you go just a little further south, like Myrtle Beaches, you're going to get less expensive rates right now. I know it's not necessarily the most comfortable, but like Florida in the summertime, can be like pretty inexpensive. I played golf in Texas in August once. Yeah, it was super expensive, but it just happened to be when I was there. Lots of great, like I was in Austin.
It sounds horrible.
But the golf teed off at 5 o'clock, man.
Oh yeah.
It was beautiful. It didn't matter at that point, but or Arizona, right? I mean, those fringe seasons where a lot of locals aren't going to play, but tourists can come and play. And it's really cheap. Gives you the opportunity, although it might not be the most comfortable time to play golf. You have the opportunity to go out and play and do some things at night, go to restaurants. Everyone wins.
It's true. So
that's it. Well, cool. I think that's all the questions. Unless you got anyone else chiming in here.
I don't.
I'm gonna check one more time.
Unless you want to answer a text from my brother about tiling on a floor.
No,
I don't think this is the show for that.
I recently just installed a faucet in my bathroom, but I think that's it.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Cool.
Yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in. We want to keep doing these. They're a lot of fun. We appreciate people tuning in. If it means tuning in after, I know the videos end up being longer. You can kind of skip to areas where maybe you see a question. Reach out. Use GolfWRX on Twitter, Instagram, TG2, any of the podcasts, on spec. There's not a lot of Instagram on that right now. We're still young. Yep. But my Twitter and Instagram, I use it all the time. Speaking of Myrtle Beach, I think Michael Williams is going to be down there.
Yeah, Michael Williams
is playing a pro-am somewhere.
He either did or is. Yeah, but 19th hole, Michael Williams. Yep. Monday's off is right near there. Delaware boy, Steve, and myself.
I think so like reach out all the time. I love answering questions because I'm just a guy that builds golf clubs and likes talking about it. And if it means helping someone else build a set, by all means, please ask.
For sure.
Cool.
All right, guys.
Thanks for tuning in. Cool.